being written off then, Obasanjo's administration was able to pay the balance of $12 billion. And from there, Nigeria became debt-free, at least for the time being. This helped stabilize the value of the naira at the time. And with crude oil prices up during this time, the Nigerian economy grew rapidly to the top spot in Africa, a growth that continued during the administration of Yar'Adua through to that of Goodluck Jonathan. Then 2015 happened. Nigeria's economy became unrecognizable. Now, to show you exactly how the situation is, Nigeria is reportedly using almost revenue to service debt. But how did we get here? Come with me and I'll show you.
Nigeria's debt profile.
7.6 trillion naira in domestic debt.
$7.22 billion.
The country's debt service cost in the first quarter of this year was 1.94 trillion naira.
The Nigerian government currently owes a total of $91 billion. That is both domestic and foreign debt. $42 billion is said to be foreign. Now, according to Bloomberg, Nigeria has 60% of its revenue on debt servicing in the first 11 months. The World Bank placed that around 96% for the entire year of 2022. But you know what's more worrying? Spending 96% of your revenue to pay debt means you're borrowing almost 100% of your annual budget. This is scary because records show that it is getting worse and not better. Between 1999 and 2021, local and external federal government borrowing jumped from 3.55 trillion naira to 26.91 trillion naira, an increase of 658%. Between June 2015 to December 2020, Buhari borrowed 6.6 President Muhammadu borrowed $7.3 billion in 2015 to $28.57 billion as of December 2020. This caused the country's exchange rate to move from 197 naira to the dollar in 2015 to 381 naira at the end of December 2020. We are talking about one president increasing Nigeria's debt by 173.2% in just 6 years. In comparison, President Goodluck Jonathan's administration met Nigeria's debt profile at 6.17 trillion naira in 2011. According to a report by the Cable, local debt amounted to 5.62 trillion naira, while foreign debt stood at $3.5 billion. The exchange rate at the time was 156.7 naira. Of Jonathan's administration, external debt was $6.45 billion. Domestic debt rose to 7.9 trillion naira, while the naira fell slightly to 158.6 naira to $1. After the elections, however, everything changed. By the end of 2015, Nigeria's foreign debt jumped to $7.3 billion, while domestic debt increased by 8.4 trillion naira. The naira crashed to 197 per dollar. Not even a year in office yet, Buhari immediately gave Nigerians a clue of how his government planned to carry its affairs. So far, Buhari is the country's biggest borrower, increasing public debt, that is the federal government component, by more than 173%. Oh, hang on, there is still has been acting like a bunch of 5-year-old kids with Happy Christmas money in a candy shop. According to the Vanguard, the federal government under Tinubu borrowed 20.1 trillion naira from domestic investors in the first year of President Tinubu's administration alone. But why are they borrowing this much? What are they doing with all of this money? Now, the most apparent reason for Nigeria's rising debt profile is the rising cost of governance. This is simply put any cost associated with the running of government. This includes recurrent and capital expenditure. While recurrent expenditure talks about the amount of money the government spends on overhead and personnel costs, capital expenditure, on the other hand, talks about government expenditure in providing infrastructural facilities. The problem with the Nigerian situation is that the government is borrowing a whole lot of money to spend on overhead and personnel costs. As a result, infrastructure is in decay, while the people in power focus on buying yachts, jets, SUVs, and building mansions. The point I'm trying to make here is spending billions of borrowed funds to give public officials lavish lifestyles has reduced the amount of money available for capital expenditures. This means roads don't get built, hospitals are poorly managed, some have no light, and others have collapsing structures. Let's not even get into the education sector. There is literally no money to improve our power infrastructures, leading to the national power grid collapsing every 4 market days. The public transportation system is a mess. No rail lines in major cities to help solve the public transportation crisis. Now, all of this put together have led to a fall in investments. Companies are running away, which in turn has led to a reduction in the level of employment, which ultimately led to the stagnation of our economic growth. Also to add, borrowing a ton of money without restraint is bad. Yeah, pretty bad. But how, you might ask? Well, more debt means a weaker naira. A weaker naira means imports of goods are more expensive and exports bring in little value as a result. A weaker naira also means crazy levels of inflation like we are witnessing right now. Food items are very expensive and people are no longer able to afford household items. There is also the debt servicing we talked about earlier. Nigeria is currently using 96% of its revenue to service debt. Imagine working for 30 days and you are paid 500,000 naira, but then you have to use 408,000 naira from that amount to pay your debt. How do you survive on 20,000 naira for another 30 days? It means you will have to borrow again and again, and so the cycle continues. But is there a fix for this mess we are in? When the current president of Argentina was sworn in back in December 2023, his country's economic situation was worse than Nigeria's. But what did he do? Well, he took measures to reduce government spending. It's not a magic trick. All he did
níbi iná torí pé a rí àwọn country tó jẹ́ pé country wọn worse ju ti Nigeria lọ ṣùgbọ́n kí ni tí wọ́n ṣe wọ́n gbìyànjú àti ṣe iṣẹ́ láti rí pé wọ́n work out things láti rí pé country wọn dá but kí ló ṣe ti Nigeria kí ló dé tí nǹkan worse sí kí ló dé tí nǹkan bàjẹ́ kí ló dé tí nǹkan dojúrú kí ló dé tí àwọn ìjọba yìí kí ló tún jẹ́ pé gbogbo effort ẹnìkan ti put in place ìyẹn Ọbásanjọ́ láti rí pé Nàìjíríà ò jẹ àwọn kankan lówó látàyè Buhari wọ́n sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní ná owó yìí débi pé Buhari ná owó yìí débi pé Buhari tún gbàdá lọ jẹ gbèsè $7.3 billion. Buhari jẹ gbèsè débi pé ó ti jẹ gbèsè $7.3 billion kalẹ̀ lẹ́yìn ìgbà tí owó tó bá ní reservoir tó ná nínàkúnà ṣébẹ̀ láti wọ́n sọ pé Nàìjíríà fẹ́ dá ṣébẹ̀ ní èmi àti ẹtí wọ́n sọ pé Nàìjíríà fẹ́ dá ṣe rí ètò yìí máa tuntun ṣe lọ́la tó dàbẹ̀ ni pé nẹ́tíwọ́ọ̀kì yẹn dá wa láàmú lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ máa tuntun the same program yìí ṣe ó máa ṣe o a ò ní ìjọba ò sí eléyìí yóò sì jẹ́ ká mọ ibi tá à ń lọ wípé orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ò lè dá àfi tá a bá ń tara wa lókù orílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà yìí kò sí tó lè dá ń bẹ̀ àfihàn pé kò lè dá rèé tí èmi àti ẹ ò sì gbọ́dọ̀ tanra wa jẹ torí pé ìlú tá a wà yìí ìlú tó kù tí àwọn ènìyàn ò rí òótọ́ táwọn èèyàn rí òótọ́ ṣùgbọ́n tí wọn ò lè sọ ṣùgbọ́n tá a yan irọ́ láàyè ṣùgbọ́n tá a múrọ́ ní òkúkúdùn tá a múrọ́ ní àṣà àti ìṣe tá a múrọ́ ní ojúṣe wa ní pọ́nbílì ṣùgbọ́n tí nǹkan bá a jẹ́ ju bá a ṣe rè lọ tí nǹkan dàrú tí nǹkan sì ń dojúrú ju bá a ṣe lè rọ ṣùgbọ́n tí kò sí ẹnikẹ́ni tó lè pè wá sí àkíyèsí tàbí tó bá pè wá sí àkíyèsí kí la fẹ́ sọ ìjọba tó yẹ kó ṣe kó dáa tó padà kó owó jẹ ibi tí Buhari ibi tó ná owó sí àjọmọ̀ gbọ́ lọ́la ìdí tí Buhari ṣe jẹ owó tó báyìí àjọmọ̀ gbọ́ tó bá dọ̀la ibi tí Buhari kó àwọn owó yìí sí ibi tó ná sí èmi àti yóò jọmọ̀ gbọ́ ní program wa ọ̀la lágbára Ọlọ́run a máa ṣàlàyé a sì máa mú ẹ̀rí ẹ̀ wá nínú àwọn àlàyé tá a bá ń ṣe a ṣàlàyé a sì máa mú ẹ̀rí máa jẹ́mi ìṣó wá a ṣàlàyé a sì máa mú ẹ̀rí wá lẹ́ẹ̀kan ṣiṣẹ́ torí pé gbogbo ẹnikẹ́ni tó bá dúpẹ́ Nàìjíríà ò dáa bí ẹni tí onítọ̀hún ò tí ì mọ ohun tó ń ṣe ni bí ẹni tí onítọ̀hún bẹni tó ń tanra ẹ̀ ni bí ẹni tí onítọ̀hún bẹni tí kò ní àgbọ́kànlé kankan bí ẹni tó tọ̀hún bẹni tí fèètì ẹ̀ ti kú bí ẹni tó tọ̀hún tí kò ní fèètì ni Ọlọ́run yóò ràn wá lọ́wọ́ lágbára ọ̀rọ̀ la èmi àti yín lájọ máa pàdé tó bá dọ̀la ẹ wò ó dàárọ̀ lórí tòun ní ná kí èmi àti yín ká sùn láyọ̀ ká jí láyọ̀ ká sùn rè